I may be able to comment that I have looked on the website that came out from the independent hearings panel, and there have been no changes for any of the subject properties.
Right, so there's no upzoning for any of them.
But
So
we haven't made any
that was the only question I wanted to
right.
ask. My second question relates to the house that was on the property at 2 Forest Hill. Was that sold off, or was it demolished, or what happened to it?
It was removed. I can give you the time frame. It was removed in 2011 to allow for the roading works.
Yeah, no, that wasn't my question. My question was, what happened to it? Was it sold off or demolished?
Sorry, I haven't been given that information. It just simply says that it was removed.
Oh, so we didn't get the income for that. That went to.
I would have to go back and review, get council's property files reviewed. I don't have that information to hand.
Thank you. Councillor Clow.
I'm just asking the Chair that you deal with these properties separately. I'm going to support the sale of all of them. However, I'm just a little bit interested in 37 Tobin Street, and maybe the Chair of the local board, Andy, could give some information on that. I mean, is that used as a kind of a play space, a park by local people? And I'm just saying that in contrast to 27 Tobin, like Forest Hill, they're right on the corner. I don't have grandchildren yet, but I wouldn't be taking my grandchildren to play ball or anything on a corner site like that. There'd be no way I would do that, because it's extremely dangerous, both of them. So just tell me about 37.
Yes, and I guess it's the same question that that Linda asked. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's there's no formal use of it. Where it is located is Pukekohe North is our most deprived part of Pukekohe, and so up until now there's been no public transport into there, and so there's a huge foot traffic through there, and this is on their way to the township. And so there's within 3727, and there's another tiny little piece of reserve across the road beside what's called Harrington Hall. These are congregation points where people sit and they have their lunch, the kids sit, so they are used. That's their value. They're a nice little mound. In the summer, you can almost always drive through there, and during the middle of the day, there'll be people sitting there just eating on their way back home, back to Puke North, or on their way into town. So it is, and there's nothing between there and where these people live. So you then go into your pretty highly deprived part of Pukekohe, which has some really serious social issues. So yes, it is. They are both used. And it's not just about the use, as I said before. This is about the look and the feel of the town as a rural service.
So just a follow-up question. So 37 is a reasonably safe space for children to use?
Oh, absolutely. It's just it's nicely mounded. You know, it was developed and shaped.
Yep. Thank you.
As part of it.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And this 2 Forest Hill Road, Forest Hill's the area where I live, so I go past it quite regularly, and it's open, grassed, and if kids and families wanted to play in it, they would be playing there now. But I don't think I've ever seen any children in there playing, because it's actually quite a dangerous area from the fact that it's a busy intersection. It's just been upgraded, you can see in the photographs. And there's traffic going in all directions all the time, and I cycle around there on occasions, and you know, you've got to be very careful what you're doing, I think, in that area. There's a cycleway, a joint cycleway up the footpath on the Westlake Boys side, which is the northern side, but you know, it's an area where vehicle emissions are fairly, I'd say, fairly substantial in that immediate area. And as I said to you, I asked the chairman of the local board, he confirmed that there is a children's playground which is developed. It's got facilities at the corner of a Belmont Terrace and Nile Road, which I estimate would be about 400 metres along the road from this location. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that this area of Forest Hill and Sunnysnook, when they were developed for subdivision, a lot of little pocket areas that the developers didn't want were put in as kind of subdivision parkland, reserve land, whatever you call it, And now those areas, I know areas where I live, just in the close vicinity, I never see anyone in those areas, but every week you see the council contractors there mowing the lawns and keeping the place nice and tidy for the people whose homes back onto the area. So I think, as a council, we've got policies which clearly enunciate what our attitude is going to be to dealing with surplus land, and just saying that, we think this could be used for something else, or the parks officer, whoever he may be, he says, no, it could be used as a gateway location for whatever area on Wairau Road. Well, how many gateways are we going to have? So I think saying this second part of this, I don't think that's going to get us very far, because it really says that we won't do anything with this until we find an alternative. How long is that going to be? And that's really a concern that I have. So I think I've got to be fair, and we've got the policy, and just to not follow the policy, I don't think it's in our best interest. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cashmore.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'd like you to indicate, are you going to take these items separately, or the two Tobin Road ones together first, then Forest Hill for a start?
I'll probably take 1 and 2 first, and then I'll take 3, and then I'll do the rest.
Okay, thanks. A question to Letitia. Thank you for your work, and as someone has already said, it's difficult and complicated, I understand. When you were assessing, or the people assessing, or the parks people, the Tobin Road properties, was there any account taken for, as Chairman Baker spoke about, the urban design feel of this green space around this very busy ring road, including the heavy traffic that uses it extensively, and to trying to retain Pukekohe's look and feel as being a country town? Was any assessment made of that?
Yes, through the Chair, my understanding is that a holistic assessment was undertaken for both of the sites that took into account the surrounding area, the open space network, SIPTED criteria, etc., and the properties were subsequently transferred through to Panuku.
Madam Chair, the issue I have is when you look at the photographs on pages 18 and 19, it's very clear that the land is flat. These knolls have been created, and in one case planted up to create that look and feel of the Pukekohe of yesteryear. And as the town trebles in size in the forthcoming 25 years, it's important that these looks and feels be maintained, in my opinion, and obviously in the opinion of the local board. And this is the area of, as Andy said, is an area that it does have its challenges. And this isn't, these little green spaces are areas of foot traffic that the people use and will continue to use. So just to retain space for the sake of it, I would never agree to. But in this case, it's very much about keeping Puke as a country town, creating that greenness and that undulation look that was surrounded the town originally, but also it does enable the through traffic, pedestrian traffic, and a place to congregate in those areas, and the school kids in particular. And I would urge councillors to support not disposing of these, but retaining them as to get green space, and also remind you that the Franklin community has put up a lot of sales through this process. We support this process. There's only been one other that we haven't, as Chairman Baker said. And as he also indicated, there's lots of other legacy council-owned property there that the board is actively working with Panuku with for reform and potential sale.
Thank you. And you are very correct, because we've just managed to take one off the sale list of Weezer Lane in Kumu, because it is a floodplain. There are issues. We need the green space, and it is about our towns facing the growth that they're facing, and it's not necessarily parkland, as you say, it's congregational sort of land that people walk through and give that green space. Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Just talking to Forest Hill, I'm pretty familiar with this piece of land here, having trudged up the road for about 5 years going to Westlope Boys. It is, as Councillor Darby has said, a pretty harsh environment around there. You have the motorway on one side, you have the Wairau stream, you have a kind of busy road leading into a sprawling commercial area which has virtually no green space whatsoever along Wairau Road. This is an area that is heavily used with pedestrian traffic. You have Westlake boys going up the hill, you have Westlake girls coming down the hill, and you have people walking along from Wairau, from the lower ends of Glenfield along towards Takapuna. So it's a site that has a lot of human traffic, if I can put it that way. Councillor Darby mentioned this concept of a gateway. There is no gateway to this big area. It's just sprawling factories and car yards and kind of residential properties that have been overtaken with the development that's occurred after them in the 50s and 60s. The Nile Road that Councillor Wood refers to is in the proximity, but it's off the beaten track. It's a side road, so it's not a prominent location such as this. I find it a little ironic that in a time when we're considering, great intensification, and this is certainly no reflection on Letitia and Panuku, because they've got a brief to carry out there. We're disposing of areas like this. This is a prominent area. It is very unlikely, and if it is at all possible, be at a substantially more of a cost for council to acquire open space in this area, because it is an expensive suburb and that land just isn't available. So I would suggest the little tag-on proviso at the end is next to meaningless. So if that is the case, then I certainly support and happy to second Councillor Darby's resolution that this land be retained. It's not just all about providing a park or a playground. It's an area that can do with some form of improvement, and if we have the land, then it serves a multi-purpose, I would suggest, both as a gateway, both as an open space with a bit of greenery for the literally thousands of people that pass by here on foot, and also possibly as a pocket park, because across the road there is this very busy plant centre that people pour into with their families and kids, especially during the weekends. So I would think in terms of location, this is actually A1 on a number of fronts, so that's why I support its retention.
Thank you. Councillor Clow.
I'm just asking you to reconsider your position of putting 1 and 2 together, because I would vote against both them. I'd vote for both of them to be sold when I actually don't want to do that. I'm happy to vote for the retention of 37. It would be a shame if it was all lost by 1, and then Pukekohe doesn't have either of these. So I'm asking you to reconsider your decision to put 1 and 2.
Okay, I'm open to suggestions. Councillor Cooper.
Thank you. I'm just, thinking about the policy, and the reason for the policy is to help us actually get some money other than using rates. So by my estimation, if we reject 3 of these, it's about $800,000. So that's $800,000 that we've got, that we think we're going to have in the budget that we're now not going to have. So that's a bigger overarching concern for me. In terms of Forest Hill Road, and I know it well too, I've been around there a lot, in terms of having children running back and forward across the bottom of Forest Hill Road to that park when you're in that, and the parents are having coffee and the kids take off, you will have kids dying. Believe me, that is just such a huge, and especially on a Saturday morning when everyone's at the cafe, at the plant barn, it is phenomenally busy. The other issue that people don't talk about is there are standards around children, especially around children's education areas, around emissions. This is exactly the same. No way you want your kid playing on that corner there with the kind of fumes they're going to be breathing in. So it's pretty unrealistic in terms of a park. And in terms of a gateway, why do you need to herald a big industrial strip, really? You've got much better places to have a gateway to Takapuna, Devonport further up past the motorway. I think the idea of a gateway to Wairau Industrial Park is sort of, it pretty much heralds itself. So I don't see the need to do that. So I can't support that. I mean, $450,000 is the estimated value for that. So that's a pretty substantial piece of money that we need for other things we've got to do. So that's my concern.
Thank you.
Let's stick to the
Councillor
policy.
Penrose.